Who is the CEO of
Titan Aca Demy?
Titan Academy is a YouTube web series made by Jian Haotan, and there are a few big questions about the series. One is about the relationship between the protagonist, Jian Haotan, and the main villain, Mr. Alan Tan. Another is about the love plot, and about if Jian Hao will choose Denise, Maddie, or perhaps someone else. But one big question that isn't talked about as much is the identity of the organization's CEO. We only see the CEO one time, and that is in the first episode of Season 8, 13 Types of Students Back to School. In this episode, we see that he wants to make a lot of profit
At the end of this year from Titan Aca Demy.
Jian Haotan has confirmed that he is the very top of the organization, which sets him up as possibly being an even bigger threat than Mr. Allen or Mrs. Regna. If the CEO's identity ends up being a major plot twist, then it is most likely a twist villain, meaning that it could be someone who we've seen before in the series. So here are some of the characters in the series who have been antagonists in some way at some point in the series. Even though we only have a short scene with the CEO, this one scene has some major clues about who the CEO could be. First of all, we know that the CEO is a man. This eliminates a lot of the antagonists from being the CEO. Second, we know that the CEO cannot be Mr. Allen or Mrs. Regna. And if we assume that the plot twist will make sense, the CEO cannot be someone introduced in Season 8 or 9. This eliminates Tony and Mr. Promethesh. The next clue is a bit more subtle, but it's very important. The CEO says
Aca Demy
instead of Academy. This is the way that Mr. Allen pronounces that word as well, but we already know that it cannot be Mr. Allen. However, Mr. James pronounces it Academy, so even though he would be a good fit for the CEO, it cannot be him. Similarly, Mr. Salim is also not the CEO, as he says Academy. This also means that any character who says Academy cannot be the CEO, including Mr. Muthu Raja, and although he isn't really that much of an antagonist, he could have been in the CEO conversation had he not said Academy. And finally, it cannot be Teverly because he is working for Mr. Allen. So this leaves Mr. Tan Os, Wallater, Viknesh, Mr. Moneybags, Nav, Terry, Mr. P-Lip, and Mr. Lakosh as who I think could still be the CEO. I personally think that it's not Mr. Tan Os as he's an imaginary character, and I think it's not Nav because he seemed to panic when Denise brought up his low grades. Mr. Lakosh would also likely be difficult to do, which leaves Wallater, Viknesh, Mr. Moneybags, Terry, and Mr. P-Lip. Out of these, today, I'll talk about why I think Mr. P-Lip could be the CEO, and some possible arguments for why it might not be Mr. P-Lip. First of all, the voice of the CEO is actually done by Mr. P-Lip's actor. Just listen to this.
Are we ready for the next phase?
Yes, sir. The plans are in motion.
Remember, if we do not see big profit by the end of this year from Titan Aca Demy, it will be a pure financial liability, and we have no choice but to close it down.
Second, the CEO uses a cane. In Season 5, Mr. P-Lip says that he'll bring a cane to school, and if P-Lip is actually the CEO, then this is him doing that. P-Lip's antagonistic behavior in that episode is also reflected here with his belief that they need to treat education like a business. Third, the CEO wants
Titan Aca Demy
to become a profitable business model, which likely means that he wants to get more money. But in the Season 5 staff room episode, he loses money after borrowing Mr. Mabuhoi's tablet. If P-Lip were the CEO, then he would likely want more money from Titan Academy. And finally, Mr. P-Lip's name is most likely a mispronunciation of Philip. This is very similar to how
Aca Demy
is a mispronunciation of Academy, so it's possible that Mr. P-Lip would also mispronounce that word. Mr. P-Lip's English isn't that good, and this could lead to him mispronouncing Academy. The CEO's speech also has similar pauses to P-Lip's, and although this could just be that it's the same voice actor, it is still most likely an intentional choice, as we know that Jian Hao asked Mr. Allen's actor to say
Aca Demy.
So the similar voice structure would also support that P-Lip is the CEO. However, there are also some arguments for why P-Lip might not be the CEO. First of all, with the cane argument, we see Mr. P-Lip in the Season 7 episode 12 Types of People on Payday, and he does not have a cane, even though he interacts with a student. The counterargument to this is that he has a stick in the detention episode in Season 5, but this is also a recorded video, so we don't know if this was recorded before or after he said that he would bring a cane. Additionally, in the Payday episode, P-Lip tells Mr. Dan that he will cane him. This is the last time that we see P-Lip before Season 8 shows the CEO, so this argument against P-Lip being the CEO might not be enough. The second argument against P-Lip being the CEO is that in the Payday episode, he complains to Ms. City about his pay. It seems strange for him to complain about his pay if he is the CEO. The only way this would make sense is if the organization isn't making much profit, but it seems that the organization is very rich. But if we did say that the organization was losing money, then this would be consistent with him wanting more pay. So could Mr. P-Lip be the CEO of the organization? It's certainly possible, but there are some challenges to this. Other characters such as Wallater and Mr. Moneybags are also potential twist villains, and I could see one of them being the CEO, but I think that P-Lip being the CEO would certainly make sense, and would be one of the funniest and most interesting plot twists in the Titan Aca Demy series.